everybody. Thank you for attending. David Basha has been my close friend from the age of 14 years old. Since he immigrated to Canada from Israel with his family, my parents were also close friends with David's parents, Salman and Doris. David attended high school with me at Mount Royal High. Afterwards, David graduated from McGill University, then moved to Florida, then New York, and finally to the holy city of Tzfat, Israel. Now I'm pleased to present David, who will be giving us a lecture on the key to true happiness through Kabbalah teaching that are seldom heard. After the lecture, there will be a question and answer period. And after that, to conclude, Rabbi Pinto will be saying a few words. So here's David. David's going to tell a little bit about his, small biography about himself. And I hope everyone enjoys the lecture.
Thank you very much, Ronnie. Okay, I'm so excited to see you. You have no idea. It's been years since I've seen all of you. Hashem yishmor atkhem. You should have only joy and happiness and health and wealth and only pleasures, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, I'm going to say a few words about myself. I don't have to say much because everybody knows me. It's all my family over there. But I think I don't have to say too much. Like Ronnie said, Ronnie and me grew together since the age of 14. And we had a life together from way back. And then, like you said, I went to McGill, I went to New York. At the age of 30, we got married, me and Ronnie. And then we started our journey to the Torah world. I'm not gonna go into all this because maybe at the other part of the other half an hour, if you wanna ask me things, how I got religious and all that, I'll explain. But today, I wanna give information that will help us, all of us, me too, all of us, to enjoy life much more than what we enjoy. And information comes from the Kabbalah. It's information that you don't hear it too much in synagogues because it comes from the secrets of the Torah. And B'ezrat Hashem, slowly, we'll give whatever we can. There's a whole ocean of knowledge in this thing, but we only have half an hour. So I'm gonna do my best to concentrate whatever the knowledge is. B'ezrat Hashem. First of all, we have to know that the world was created from 4 elements: fire, water, earth, and wind. Everything, every article in the world contains these 4 elements. But one is predominant over the 3. For example, you take a stone, the stone has in it air, it has in it fire, it has in it water. If you take 2 stones, put it together, you'll see that fire comes out. And also you see sometimes plants coming out from stone, which means that it has water in it. But the predominant feature in that stone is earth. That's what makes it stone. Us, as human beings, we are made also of these 4 elements: fire, water, earth, and wind. For example, water, we are contained of 70% of the body is water, according to science. Earth, we're made out of earth. We go back to earth. Wind, we talk, and our lungs, we take in wind and breathe out wind. And fire, we have acids in our stomach that digest the food. That's the fire in our body. But what does all this mean? Every element has in it a characteristic. So for example, each one of us has the 4 elements, but one of them is the dominant one. For example, a person is made out of water, fire, wind, and earth, but he has in his character more fire than the other elements. What does that mean? Fire, if a person has an element of fire, he will be a type of person that will have on the positive side, will be a warm person with feelings. On the other side that he has to correct, he might be proud and angry. That's the negative side that he has. Now, why? Because he's fire, and fire has these characteristics. What is his correction? To correct himself, he has to give some humility to himself. Can he do that? Yes. The Almighty gave us the four elements, and we can correct anything that's imbalanced in us and become happy. Because if a person is on ego trips, and is mad, and all in his life, is all thinking about honor. That's the predominant thing in his life, honor. How can he be happy? He goes to a party, he meets people. The first thing that he thinks, look at this one, how he greeted me. This one insulted me. This one didn't say nice to me. Hi. He's insulted all the time. He looks at his wife. He always tests her to see how much she respects him. He looks at his kids. Oh, they are rude. They don't respect him enough. So all day long in his life, respect is running him. It doesn't matter how much money he's got. It doesn't matter how healthy he is. Nothing. This predominant thing in his life, honor, is running him. How can a person be happy if this is what's running his life? Take the side of water. The water types, they concentrate on pleasures of life. All day long, they just want pleasures. They want good food, they want to eat, they want restaurants, they want pleasure all the time. And they flow, they are friendly. But anything that's extreme, that person cannot be happy because he will never have the pleasure that he wants all the time. Take the earth person. The earth person has on the negative side laziness. He wants to sleep and he's looking for convenience all day long. Wherever he goes, he wants the sofa to relax on the sofa. He wants to sleep. He doesn't want to get up early. The whole thing lazy. On the positive side, he's a very deep person. He's a person that likes to think. So of course, he has to balance himself. Let's take the wind, where there's a person where the predominant attribute that he's got is wind. He's going to be a person that likes to talk all the time. And he wants to be all the time the center of attention of talking. But the negative attribute on that is he can be bad-mouthing people. He can be also taking attention too much, just talking all day long, and nobody wants to hear him anymore. So what's the source of happiness? It's nothing that's outside us. Happiness is a state of mind that's inside us. And we have to correct the attributes that are preventing us from happiness. The Zohar says something that's amazing. It says like this: the Almighty, there is souls that are supposed to come to this world as babies. Each one has been here many, many times before. We're all reincarnated hundreds of times. It's not the first time HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty, looks at the souls. He sees one person who has a problem of stinginess. He sees another person who is a giving person. He sees another person who has jealousy in him. The other one has anger in him. The other one is a happy person. He takes all this group of souls and makes them into a family. What is a family? Family is a group of people that the Almighty brings together to this world to correct each other. There might be people that are completely opposite of me, but that's okay, because I can learn many, many things from them, and they can learn many, many things from me. For example, let's say that somebody has anger in him, and he didn't correct it yet, and he comes to this world, and the Almighty wants him to correct it so that he'll be happy and he'll live a nice, good life. He'll give him a son that's very relaxed. And you'll give him a wife that will correct him. You'll give him also a cousin, friends. You'll have a whole group of people that you will learn from them if he wants to, in his own free choice, if he learns from them how to correct himself. And they also will learn from him how to correct themselves. So that means that's called a family. There's a father, mother, kids, friends, cousins, close friends, far friends. If you look at all this group of people, they are here to correct. Now, these people come over here, the whole family comes into this group, and there's a purpose to them. It's not for nothing that somebody has a father that's this type, and a mother that's this type, and a daughter that's this type. All this is for a purpose of correction. Since we came here to correct, and the happiest thing in the world is to correct. For example, the Zohar says, what's the nicest, the happiest moment of a person? If he can correct himself. Yesterday, he was on an ego trip. All he cares about is honor. Who is giving me honor? Who is not insulting me? But if he starts, he goes to a rabbi, a wise man, he tells him, listen, we are nothing. We're here, we have no control over anything. How long you're gonna live? Do you know? Nobody knows. Until 120 on everybody. How healthy a person is gonna be? Not in his control. How many kids you'll have? It's not in his control. How much money you'll have? It's not in his control. What is in control? If he wants to correct himself, or if he wants to stay the way he is. Now, the group of people that come into this world that's called a family can be exactly opposites. For example, let's say who is the first one that corrects us? Is our wives. Our wives are the ones that are partners with us. They are with us 24 hours, and they see what's supposed to be corrected by me. The Almighty brings the wife, and she knows exactly what I have to correct. And the correction that I have with her could be completely opposite. For example, take a man who is stingy. He's got money and everything, but he's stingy. What do you think? What kind of wife will the Almighty give him? He'll give him a wife that loves to spend. She is a spender. She goes to the shopping center and spends like crazy. And this guy is going bananas all day long. Now she comes to him, says to him, honey, give me the visa, I want to go. He says, oh no, here she comes again. The visa. He gives her the visa, Chaim. Gives her the visa, and he's thinking, what's she going to do with my money now? Who knows what she's going to spend? Tell her, listen, we don't need this, we don't need this. Say, don't worry. She goes to the shopping center and rips the visa apart from spending. Now, the guy is in tortures. Every time she tells him a visa, Chaim is motrok. He's worried. So either he says, listen, I have 20, 30 years like this, either I'm going to leave her, or you'll go to a psychiatrist. He goes to a psychiatrist, tells him, I have a very bad life. My wife spends like crazy. Psychiatrist tells him, yeah, really? He listens to him for an hour, tells him now it's $400 an hour. Here's a pill, relax. He goes. Doesn't work. The psychiatrist himself got divorced maybe 3-4 times already. So he's looking for a solution. He goes to a rabbi, to a wise person. The rabbi will tell him, listen, the problem is not your wife. The problem is you. You're stingy. You have to share with people. You have to give her. You have to let her feel free. And then, in turn, to correct yourself, you'll be happy. You won't be so tight about your money. And she will also correct. So what do? He says, the rabbi tells him, listen, next time she comes to you, she says, give me the visa. Don't say anything. Don't give her like a bad face and all that. Give her the visa and don't say a word. Say, okay, but it's going to be hard for me. So never mind, it will be hard for you. It's hard to correct. He gives her the visa. Okay. Next week, he comes and says, now that you give her the visa, smile to her. Now the wife comes to him. She says, I want to go give me the visa. He says, Here's the visa. And he smiles. What does the wife tell herself? What happened to this guy? A week ago, he was going bananas on me when I went to take it to shopping. And now he's smiling. What do you think will happen to this woman, his wife? Now he comes to her and tells her, honey, take the visa and have a good time. She will spend much less. Why? Because the correction was made. She sees that he worked on himself, and she doesn't have the urge to spend so much like before. And there is a correction. Now, will he be happy? Yeah, because now he feels that he's balanced. He doesn't have this urge of stinginess and only me. Inside our characters, all of us, everybody, there is a war between body and soul. The body wants everything for itself. It wants pleasures. It wants everything now. It wants COD. It wants enjoyments right now. The soul wants to share, to love, to have friends, to have good family life, to give to each other. That's what the soul wants. And the person has this war in himself all the time. Me, or let me worry about them. About my friends, about my family, about my kids. Now let me give, let me help, let me do things to other people, for other people. And this war is in us all day long. We have this war. How much do I give to kids? If I give them too much, they become spoiled. If I don't give them, it's also not good. Where is the balance here of how much to give, how much to not to give? With my wife, many times love is not given, and many times love is given. You have to know when to give, when to stop giving. It doesn't mean that if I don't give, I don't love the person. No, many times it's better not to give. Many times the kids or the wife, if you give them too much, they don't appreciate it. And if you don't give them, even though it's hard for you not to give them, but this way you're teaching them to appreciate what they're getting. So you're making them a correction, you're correcting them. You're also correcting yourself by balancing yourself. All this, like there is a balance in the body, and if the body is not balanced, there's sickness. For example, how does sickness goes to a person? A person has a sickness because he's not balanced inside. He's not eating right, so things happen to him afterwards. Even cancer, lo alenu, is because the cells go out of control without balance. The whole thing in the body to be healthy is balance. The same thing in the spirit. The soul needs to be balanced. We have traits, and each one of us is made out of these 4 elements. Now that I gave you the 4 elements, it's easier. We have now tools to see what kind of person we are. Am I looking for all the time honor? Am I looking all the time for pleasures with no end? I'm looking all the time for attention. The Zohar says you have to develop good traits, balanced traits. If we can correct ourselves with what we came in and balance ourselves with our traits, happiness comes in. It doesn't only come to us, the happiness. It comes to all the surroundings. The wife sees it, the kids sees it. And I'm not supposed to be correcting nobody, only me. If I correct myself with my traits, this affects everybody else. Why? Because when the family sees that the father is stopping himself from anger, or the father is a giving father, and he not only thinks about himself, but he thinks about everybody else, they have the urge to correct also. That's the best education. They don't have to say much. They see him being corrected, they all correct themselves. External things don't make nobody happy. For example, we have this thing that if a person is a millionaire And if he learned in the university and he's got cars, he's happy. It's imagination. It doesn't work. Why? Money gives a person convenience, but does it give him happiness? Most of the time, you see the people that have money, they are proud of themselves, they are on ego trips, and they're miserable. Their kids, many, many times, chas v'shalom, they're on drugs and a lot of problems. Money can be good. Of course, if a person is happy inside and he uses it right, then it's happiness. Because not the money makes him the happiness. He himself corrected his bad traits and he uses the money for good purposes. Also, outside pleasures, they finish too very fast. It's like a firecracker. You go to a restaurant, you eat. The first thing that you put in your mouth, wow, it's tasty. Second, third, fourth, it's the same thing. If you eat a banana or a steak at the fourth biting, it's the same thing already. So the only pleasure that a person gets is only for the 2-3 minutes. That's it. After that, it's nothing. It's like a firecracker that lights and then there's dark again. But a person who improves, yesterday he used to be mad at his kids all the time. Now he went and started learning to relax, not to be mad. He understands that he's not running the world. He cannot expect from everybody to behave like he wants to. Everybody is behaving the way they behave and he has to correct himself. If yesterday he was angry and today he's not angry at his kids or at his wife or at the family, he says, wow, look at me. I'm improving. I'm getting to be a better person. That's happiness. The Zohar says that one correction of a person can bring him happiness that he cannot even understand how pleasurable it is and happy he can be. Why? Because the person sees that he's improving. It's not only improving with money-wise and health-wise. He's improving inside to become a better person. The more he becomes a better person, then also his life becomes better and becomes happier. I have, the subject is very, very big. I'm just giving you just like crux of, a concentrated form of what we're talking about. There's also I have a movie on YouTube, if you want to see, it's called Secrets of the Torah by David Basha. If you want to see other things over there, it will be, I think you'll find a lot of things there over there. Okay, I think that we covered up much of what we could. And if you want, Ronnie, we can start questions.
If you have a question, you can raise your hand or write it in the chat or click on the reaction icon at the bottom right. Oh, Rabbi Maimon Pinto, please unmute yourself.
Hi, David.
Hi, Rabbi, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Haba, B'Shem Hashem. Thank you for those inspiring words. Beautiful. I know that you just, like you mentioned, just touched the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much more to say, especially when it comes to Torah Nefesh, exploring the deeper understanding of our souls. I'd like to, so first of all, I'd like to thank you in the name of the community for sharing those words with us. And I'm sure a lot of us would like to learn more about this idea. Can you tell us a little bit on how you got to explore the writings of Kabbalah through your journey? Was it something that you got drawn into when you started going through your journey of Teshuvah? Was it the first thing that kind of draw you into Judaism, or did you kind of grow into it by taking step by step and maybe starting with the Talmud and then going into Kabbalah? What was really your journey? And is it something that you're constantly yourself working on and exploring?
Okay, I'll talk a little bit about what happened to me. When I was 30 years old, we got married, Baruch Hashem, in New York. One day, a 19-year-old guy came to our house. I was living in Manhattan on 43rd Street or whatever. And he came to me and he said, he was 19, I was 31 maybe. He says to me, you went to university? I said, yes. He So he says, do you know a lot of things? You went around the world. I said, yes. He said, do you know who you are? What does it mean to be Jewish? I told him, listen, tell you the truth, I don't know anything about Judaism. I never, I don't know anything about it. So wouldn't you like to know who you are? You're Jewish. What is Judaism? Wouldn't you like to know that? I said, yes, I would love to. I told him, listen. He says to me, do you want to learn with me Judaism? I said, I would love to. We started learning. And we started at 7 o'clock in the evening. We finished around 1 o'clock at night. And I didn't want him to finish because I looked and I said, listen, here's the truth. Whatever he was teaching me was part of my life. And I saw exactly in my life, exactly what the Torah is saying. So I started learning and learning and learning about Hashem. I went to a family that kept Shabbos, and they invited us to come to see what Shabbos is all about. When I came in with Ronit, with my wife, I went to this house and I see 7 kids, Leonardo. They have such respect to their father and such love that I couldn't believe it. I'm used to see kids, father comes in, doesn't come in, it's the same thing. They don't know if he's home, they don't know if he's home. When the father came in, they all rose up from honor. And when the wife comes in, mother, they come, rise up to her. Such respect, so beautiful. And then they talk, such wisdom, such nice thing. I said, now I have a chance to raise up a family. Now I understand what a family is all about. There is honor, there is values, there is happiness, and there is truth in all this. I'm just telling you, I'm not saying, whatever, everybody can do whatever you want. I'm telling you what happened to me. Now, when I started learning, I always felt that I don't understand what life is all about. I mean, why are we here? Making money, make money, whatever, Mercedes, whatever, here, there, going back and forth, vacation. But what's the purpose to it all? And I met somebody who was in Kabbalah, and he started teaching me. And I saw that it's very, very, very deep, very truthful, and very happy. That's what I saw. And I started learning this maybe 35 years ago. But I saw that I'm missing a lot of the Torah, the Pshat, the Talmud, the halachot, what to do, what not to do. I left it alone. I said, when I fill up all these floors of knowledge, I'll go back to it. Then I started learning, what I have to do in life and all this, how to behave with my kids, what life is all about. I discovered that the Torah is a manual from him. Just like a car has a manual on how to, it tells you how much oil it needs, how much gas to put, how to maintain it. We need guidance and a manual on how to live, because it's not easy to live without knowledge. And you can't get knowledge from the culture that we're living in, because the culture, you see what's going on with it. It's a Disneyland. There's no values, there's nothing. And people say there's values, democracy, whatever it is. It's values that change in 2 seconds according to the interest of the person. Has nothing to do with real value. When I got to Torah, I got to the Kabbalah, and now, Baruch Hashem, I understand many, many more things. Be'ezrat Hashem, it's all up to me to become a better person. Nobody can do it, the work. Even the Almighty cannot do the work for me. But I have to do the work for myself. And it's pleasurable work, it's happy work, and it's only fun and pleasure.
Thank you, David. Sandra has a question.
Yes, Andy.
Hi, David.
Hi,
Thank you
Sandy.
for your presentation. That's really, really nice. And thank you for everyone joining. I just wanted to ask you, there is a myth about Kabbalah and learning it at younger age, before 40 years old. Can you explain that, please?
Yeah. To learn Kabbalah, a person has, first of all, to improve himself in his traits, to be a better person. It's very, very important. That takes time. But the Sfaradim learn Kabbalah from young ages.
Right.
For example, the Ben Ish Chai learned Kabbalah from the day we started at the age of 9 to learn Kabbalah. And the Sfarad, is they don't see it as such a thing that you have to be 40 years old and then to learn everything until you get into Kabbalah. We're much easier on learning Kabbalah, and it helps a lot of people to understand life, to become happy, and to become a better person. Yeah. You don't have to be 40 years old. We don't hold on that so much. No. And also there is Kabbalah. There's all kinds of depth Kabbalah. There's like a Kabbalah that's in a higher surface, deeper surface. It depends where you are. So you can learn even the start of Kabbalah. You don't have to go so deep. It takes time until you start understanding in time how to go more and more deep to things and understand much more things.
So did anyone finish learning the Kabbalah all the way to the end?
There's no end to the Torah. There's no end. The Torah has no end. They can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and there's no end to how deep a person can go in the Torah. It's a knowledge that doesn't end. For example, if somebody wants to learn other things, there's an end to it. The doctor, he understands whatever he has to understand, fine. But here we're talking about very deep things, and there's no end to learning. We can learn and learn, and the enjoyment of learning is something that I cannot explain. If a person is learning, you'll understand the enjoyment of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
David, we have 3 questions now. We'll start with Rachel Gabai. Rachel, unmute yourself.
Hi, David. Thank you for this wonderful lecture. I wanted to ask you, I feel very connected to our religion and to the Torah, but you spoke about balance. And when somebody becomes as religious as you are, it can be viewed, and I'm sure you used to view it, as going to an extreme. Why is it necessary, in order to be following the path of the Torah, to go to extremes? Yeah.
Okay. Let me explain. You don't have to have a beard like this, like I have, and to look so extreme like I look. Yeah. But this is something that the culture made a myth. Extreme, not extreme. There's no such thing. I'll explain to you. The Torah is not an extreme. It's not extreme at all. It's just a manual. It tells you what to do, what not to do. That's all. Why does it tell you all this? It saves you from dangers. And it gives you only the good things in your life. For example, you want to have good things coming into your home. So it tells you, don't bring, let's say, bad food that's not good for you spiritually. That's called kosher. So for example, teach the kids always to give, always charity, always, there's so many good things. There's no end to how many good things there is in the Torah. And it removes me from the bad things. Now we think that many things that we have are good, but many, many times they're not. For example, internet, it can be used to a good purpose, just like what we're doing now. I'm teaching Torah to the internet. It's beautiful. I cannot reach to so many people in one time, like this place, this thing, this thing. On the other hand, the internet has many, many bad things, bad movies for kids. It shows them violence. It shows them things that are not humble. It shows them all kinds of things that they shouldn't know. They shouldn't be connected to all these things. And it ruins them many, many times. It has the good things. It has the bad things. Also now, you see like a lot of people are all the time with these machines. They don't have time to talk to their husband. The kids don't have time to talk to their fathers. Their fathers they're looking at thousands of pieces of information that they can't even absorb. And who needs all this information? For what? because the person can absorb so much, and he's got like it's blistered with all kinds of information that doesn't mean anything to his life. He's not concentrating on his wife, on the kids. The kids are not concentrating on school. So the Torah says, for example, I'm giving you the internet thing just to show you. Take the good things and leave out the bad things from everything. Internet, from everything that's in life. Take good things only. You don't need to know everything. What we need to know is what's good for me. What is good for my kids? How are my kids going to be more valued, with more education, better people? That, yeah, I'll take with pleasure, from internet, from wherever. Whatever is violence and, I don't want to say whatever it is. Why should they see all this? Why should they know all this? Why? They'll be happier if they see it? No, they won't. So this, we take aside. This is called extreme by the culture. I ask you, is this extreme? If I'm taking good things inside the house and leaving the bad, and everybody's taking bad and good inside, and this is normal, so who is extreme here? Okay.
It's a very good answer, but at the same time, if you will allow me, then what you're saying is basically you're eliminating choice. You're making, let's say you went to university. In university, you got educated, your brain expanded in ways that otherwise maybe would not. But maybe you went and you met some people that are different than you and think different than you, and maybe tempted you to think differently than your own culture, okay? Let's say. Or maybe you met people that are not very decent, and some people that are extremely decent, and you chose to connect to those that you wanted. You chose to just like the Torah, when you read the Torah and you choose what lessons you want to learn from it, because you can read it on different levels, okay? So by becoming extreme, you kind of eliminate the choice. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand it perfectly. First of all, there's a big problem. I'll tell you what the problem is. People talk about the Torah, but they never learn Torah. For example, one time, a person comes to, we had a doctor who was very, very big in Mexico. And he came to my rabbi, he said, listen, the Torah forces you to do things, and we're for freedom. We don't want any forcing, nothing. So the rabbi told him, listen, what do you do in life? He said, I'm a doctor. How long did you learn to be a doctor? He said, took me 10 years, and then I had stage, and 5 years, 15 years. Said, how long did you learn Torah? He said, I never learned Torah. So he says, how can you judge Torah without learning it and come to me with all kinds of views? Extreme, not extreme. First of all, go learn Torah, and then let's talk. Like somebody, if a person is a doctor, he says, for this illness, you've got to take this pill. Somebody comes and tells him, no, who said you have to take this pill? So are you a doctor? Did you learn about it? Go be a doctor and we'll talk about the pills. The same thing here. It's many people have opinions from media. What is Torah? The people that are religious are like this. I was also the same thing. I didn't know anything about religion or religious people. But in order to know what the Torah is, we got to know what we're talking about. When a person learns Torah, then we can talk, and then we can see, is it extreme, is it not extreme? Maybe we're living an extreme life, and we don't even realize it. Okay.
David, כל הכבוד. תשובה נהדרת. Good answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Rachel. Lisette Shashur wants to ask, not everyone knows what needs corrections, especially stingy people.
Okay. Who's asking that?
Lisette Shashur.
Your
Lisette,
friend
okay.
from back when.
Yes, Lisette, how are you?
Very good, thanks.
Okay, I'll tell you. First of all, this correction that I was talking about, it takes one thing that's very, very important. The person has to be truthful with himself. And he has to want to be better. He has to have the desire to become a better person. If he's got these two things, he has a chance. But he has to be very truthful. And if he learns just the little things that I showed you, these 4 elements, and I was talking about them. If you just, you can see, a person can look at himself and see where he's in this category and how much he has to correct. Now, to correct needs knowledge, how to behave in a balanced way. There is books in the Torah that talks about every character, how to correct it, and how to become a better person. And to be, once you're a better person, you're a happier person. Stinginess, the Torah says, for example, the body says, don't give anybody 1 cent. Keep it all to yourself. Why should I share anything with anybody else? But if a person is only thinking about himself and he's not sharing, he can't be happy. And his kids around him and his wife and everybody cannot be happy. So, to be happy, there's 2 things that go on. Sharing, having friends gives happiness, and correcting myself inside gives happiness. These are the 2 things. How to correct stinginess, how to correct ego problems, how to correct jealousy, how to correct hate of people, chas v'shalom, and all these things. These are books. There's books and there's lectures on each trait, but we just don't have the time to talk about each one of them. We only have like half an hour, and this takes time. Takes time. This is a journey of us within ourselves, and that makes the person happy. The minute he improves, he's happy. That's the secret of the whole thing.
Thank you, David. Rabbi Maimon Pinto.
Yeah, so I'll just add to what Lisette was asking. Is 2 questions. According to Kabbalah writing, namely the Arizal, is one allowed to be stingy with his wife? Because you spoke about relationship between men and women. In other words, stingy maybe is a big word, but withholding things to buy to his wife. I think the Arizal did speak about that. And second question, that was somebody that texted me. We know that in Yemen and Yemenite culture, there were 2 different schools where one school in Yemen would not learn Kabbalah and the other would learn Kabbalah. So they're asking, what was the culture in Iraq in regards to, or the approach to, in Baghdad, in Iraq, to the study of Kabbalah?
The person should give to his wife according to his economic status. If he's got a lot of money, he should give her. Also, he should make her happy. Give her jewelry, that makes a wife happy. And give to his wife whatever she needs, that's for sure. Also, besides that, he has to give also the community. The Torah says that if a person makes $1 million, he's got to get to tzedakah, 10% of that he has to give charity. Why? Why is that? Because stinginess works like this. If you have a tube and the water comes through it, and you put your finger in that tube and the water stops flowing, then nothing comes in. But if a person is giving, then it's a circle. He will get and he will give. And the secret of having anything, having money, having pleasure is to give. And the more a person gives, the more he gets. I know it's very hard to understand something like that, but anybody who gives and gives charity, he sees miracles in his life. That's something that we see it all day long. He has to worry about the community, he has to worry about his wife, and the more the person is giving, he gets pleasure from it. And he gets more, there's more bracha, more wealth and more health and everything through the giving. Now, about the other thing that you asked me about the Yemenite, Kabbalah, according to the Iraqis, Kabbalah has to be learned. It's part of the Pshat. It's called Pardes. The secret of the Torah has to be learned. It's part of the Torah. We learned it and we become better with it. And we also understand life much more and what the Torah is all about, we understand it. And anybody who is in it has a lot of happiness and a lot of joy.
Thank you, David. Lisette has a question. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
When I was asking about stinginess, I'm thinking of other things. How do we know what we need to correct? How do we know that?
In order to know what we need to correct, I'll have to give you another lecture. Because I tell you why. The Rambam and a lot of sages, the Ari, everybody, values either good or bad. Now, what is good, what is bad has to be explained. It's a lot of learning, and it's another lecture to explain how do we reach to the good, and what is good. And then we'll see that many times what we think is good is one thing, what the real knowledge is another. That we have to learn. We have to learn. Without learning, we don't know nothing.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Sandra, go ahead.
Yeah. So David, maybe this is a silly question to ask you, but was Rambam a Kabbalist?
No, Rambam, I'll tell you what happened with that. The Zohar was written 2,000 years ago by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in Meron, is next to my house. So that was 2,000 years ago. All the Zohar, the writings, were gone. After 1,200 years, nobody found the writings of the Kabbalah. The Rambam lived 800 years ago, and he didn't have the books of the Kabbalah at the time. And the books were found afterwards in Italy. The books of the Kabbalah, the Zohar, and all of them were found in Italy after he passed away. So he said that before he died, somebody showed him a book of Kabbalah, and he said that if he knew the Kabbalah at that time, many of the things he would improve on whatever he said from his teachings. So the Rambam, no, according to the Marco, who is the pupil of the Ari, he said that the Rambam didn't have the merit to see the Kabbalah books. Yeah.
Oh, really? But they still go with they still respect whatever he said, though, right?
Of course. It doesn't mean the Rambam is an amazing teacher of the Torah. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
So what's the
difference? But
difference?
there's the Kabbalah.
Right.
Yeah,
so what's the difference between his teaching and the Kabbalah? Kabbalah is more.
You'll be amazed.
Is it more?
You'll be amazed. No, I'll explain to you. You'll be amazed what they say. They say Rambam, without knowing Kabbalah, he got to the Kabbalah, even without knowing the books, because he was so deep. Without knowing the books, he knew what he knew from his own knowledge. How deep are things, and he got to Kabbalah without even learning these books. And you see it. I learned the Rambam, and I see many things that say in the Kabbalah, and he brought it up without even knowing one book of Kabbalah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And so somebody who's studying Rambam is not really studying Kabbalah then?
No, Rambam is one thing, Kabbalah is another thing. Yeah.
Thank you, David. Rabbi Pinto has a few words to say, and it was very enjoyable. You're a great speaker, and maybe we'll do this again. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Thank you so much, David, again for this beautiful conference, for sharing this words with us on Kabbalah, and there's so many more things to say. I'll just reiterate a little bit of what David said in terms of the Iraqi community. Already by the time we see that historically many of the Chachamim that lived in Iraq 17th century, 18th century, 19th century. As maybe the most famous one was the Ben Ish Chai himself and his teacher Abdallah Somech and his student Rabbi Yaakov Sofer, which later on came to Jerusalem, were great Kabbalists. For them, just to also maybe address Sandra's question, maybe touching a little bit about the Rambam and everything, there's a whole discussion around this idea whether the Kabbalists were considered also decisioners of halacha, whether they're considered to be like poskim themselves, where they could decide halacha. And we see something very interesting with the Ben Ish Chai, which is Rabbi Chaim Yosef of Baghdad, that he himself intertwined Jewish law and Kabbalah together, meaning that the Kabbalistic idea were so predominant in Iraq that there were no difference between them in terms of even following stricter laws and the whole idea of kedusha and sanctity, which anyone that explores the books of the Ben Ish Chai of Rabbi Chaim Yosef could see vividly how we intertwine Jewish law and Kabbalah itself. So part of that culture of sanctity, I remember reading once a story of Rabbi Kaduri, alav shalom, where he spoke, and he remembers, he relates a story when he was in Baghdad as a young boy, and he saw the Ben Ish Chai, by the way. He was a very young boy, maybe at the age of 4 or 5 years old. He remembers the Ben Ish Chai, the Erev Yom Kippur, and dressed all in white with a beautiful white beard like David over here, and with his turban. And there was about the Rabbi Kadua says there was about 10,000 people in the big synagogue. I don't remember the name of the synagogue right now. And he says you could hear a pin drop, and behind him there was the whole Jewish rabbi, the rabbis of the city of Baghdad would stand behind him. He looked like an angel, and when he spoke, 10,000 people across the room could hear him from one end to the other. So that just shows on the sanctity of the Ben Ish Chai and the teaching of Kabbalah, and that was so part of the Jewish Iraqi community. So we thank you again here, David, to share those beautiful words with us. And I hope a lot of us would inspire all of us to get in touch with our souls and with our internal being and try to excel in our own, finding our own identity in Judaism. Bochim to you, and thank you very much, David. God bless you. Hazaku Baruch.
Thank you. God bless you, all of you. I love you. Thank you for giving me this chance to talk. And you should only be happy and joyful all the time. See good things. You should all have good kids, good life, sweet life, and happy. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
You
thank
can
you.
all unmute yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this chance.
David. It was nice seeing you. It was very nice.
Let's hear some singing. Yossi, sings for us.
Yalla.
Yalla, Yossi, for your dad. You have to do it for your dad. Your wonderful dad.
ממלאכתו ביום שבת ניתנו לעם כבבת עין תמיד יסירהו שמרו ישראל שבת כי אות ביני וביניכם הוא يوم الشبات إنكموه برخو إلهيم وإنحلانو قدوشات الشبات إنحلانو كل زرع يعقوب كبدوه يوم الشبات انكموه بרכو אלוהים ויקדשהו.
תראה איזה שירה עיראקית.
חזק וברוך.
Excellent.
השם ישמור אותך. תצליח בכל אשר תפנה.
חזק וברוך, יוסף.
חזק וברוך.